Well, good morning everybody. I shall try and be very brief because I want to be able to put this up on my Flickr and then forward it off to various people as well. I've just been rereading with great pleasure, you might say, a 1971 Trains magazine. I'm going to read the article on Ocean to Ocean on iron rails. In other words, actually steel, but anyway. What was involved, very briefly, for those who are not familiar, and those who are not in the older age group as I am, or even older than I am, is the United States has never had a real transcontinental train, although for a while there they did have, in the sense that the Sunset Limited went all the way to Orlando, Florida. So that turned it into a transcontinental train. But of, shall we say, greater importance in a sense, and was a long-running system of through cars that ran throughout the United States, but primarily this article deals with one that ran from, they said Los Angeles, but actually it started out of San Francisco, and it went through Los Angeles, then it went on the Sunset Limited, it went down through Texas, and it went across to New Orleans, and then it sat in New Orleans overnight, and people could sleep on the train, and it went on the Southern Crescent the next day, and it ended up in New York. So it was about a 4-day journey or something. Now, that was even during AMTRAK, so that was an interesting experience that disappeared. But I've got to say, there's no reason why it can't be done again. In other words, if I named several different routes, my American friends in particular would be quite understanding as to what I'm talking about. There's no reason why a through car, a superliner sleeping car, could not leave once a week as part of the Empire Builder from Seattle to Chicago, and then would go on the Capital Limited to Washington. The Northeast Corridor beyond Washington going north cannot take high level cars. It's all single deck because of the loading gauge, but all the way to Washington there is a loading gauge that accommodates the superliner sleeping cars. So you could do that, and you could also have a once a week car leaving Los Angeles and going to Washington, through to Chicago and through to Washington, and you could also have a Los Angeles to Washington, or right through to New York, single deck car attached to the Sunset Limited, like illustrated in the article, and the Southern Crescent, or just called the Crescent now. And there have been numerous other routes that could operate, including on not only the Sunset Limited, but the Texas Chief. They could have a route through Dallas and Chicago. And another thing you could do is go across to Boston or New York using the Lakeshore Limited. Now, a couple of those routes are suitable really only for single deck cars, but if you're talking superliners, that what I first outlined is very possible. And also, there's no reason why there can't be a Chicago to Miami service, not the entire train, but switched out at Washington to be hauled by and put into the consist of the Silver Star or Silver Meteor. So this through car system could be expanded in later years to include going into Canada and going into Mexico. Now, Mexico's got no long distance trains as such, but there are a couple of possibilities. There's a Copper Canyon train, which many people are familiar with, There's no reason why through cars couldn't operate over the border from the United States and go onto that train and as a through service, or at least having a service down through to places like Monterey, very big city by the way. So even if it didn't go all the way to Mexico City, at least it'd get into Mexico. But I would think that tour trains, there's no reason why they couldn't have a winter-only train. Like they started off years ago under AMTRAK down to Florida, and then in the summer that train could do other routes, as I say, up to Canada or across to the west coast, and whatever you like to do with the train. But since I'm talking about a through car, it is very affordable, very viable to operate such a service. And I'd like my American friends over there to put these suggestions up. I'm not after any kind of credit or glory or whatever you want to call it. I'm just putting the ideas up there, and what I'd like to see is someone else progress that. And I won't name names here, but when you get this video, you'll know what I'm talking about. You can contact AMTRAK itself, or write to it, or contact it online. It's so easy today. I'll phone up people, make suggestions. There must be a form of concepts being, ideas being put forward, and so that it doesn't matter who gets the credit. The service could be introduced, and so I'm not looking for a train to go all the way across on these lines. Just we're talking about one car. So I'd like to see it progress a bit further, and right now I just want to leave you with that. But I'd just be happy to have civil and polite comments, let's say, and if a bit of a bit of a swapping around of thoughts and ideas and comments on the things that I'm raising right now. So I'll leave you with it, guys, and love to hear from you later. Bye for now.